Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, Aaron Boone will be back for the 2025 season. Announced that the Yankees will pick up the remaining year exercise on his contract, and he will be back managing the New York Yankees too. Really no surprise. I know, obviously it's very mixed bag. I think there's a lot of Boone haters. A lot of people that Boone kind of don't really carry the way. I'm not a hater. I don't love him, but, I think at least he did enough, I think, for this team in 2024 to at least get him back another season as the Yankees manager. Again, I don't think he did a tremendous job, but I don't think he did anything really crazy to say he should, doesn't deserve to be back. So we'll look at, I guess, both sides of the coin there, as well as a little bit of news on Soto as well. I did announce last episode here that, it looks like Steve Cohen and the Mets are looking to get a meeting with him to woo him. And I guess shortly after that, it looks like Hal Steinbrenner is going to fly out to California and meet with Soto as well, which you figure was going to happen anyway. So we'll kind of cover that as well. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. That's why you want to subscribe to this podcast. Get these updates after little news and notes. We got a lot of stuff to go in this offseason. Really just got started, just scratching the surface here. So Section 420 Talkin Yankees, wherever you get your favorite podcast. And there's also the YouTube version of the show. Afterwards, go Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Subscribe there as well. Now, on the most recent YouTube episode, I did kind of mention this a little bit that it was according to SNY's Andy Martino that I guess his Yankee sources said that whether the Yankees won or lost the World Series, even if they got swept in the World Series, it seemed that all signals were pointing that Boone would come back for 2025. So really, this is no surprise. I didn't really figure that they would hire a new manager anyway. I mean, he's on the contract, so he just exercised the option and let it ride out. And we've seen the Yankees do this traditionally. Gave Torrey back got about a 11 and 12 year run. Girardi had about a 10-year run. They usually let this thing go for about 10 years, it seems, and then they kind of make a decision. They're not, the New York Yankee organization, they're not one of these teams that like get a new manager every other year, kind of like the Mets when things are spiraling out of control, or like the New York Football Jets. I mean, the Yankees are usually pretty steady there. Some organizations like this traditionally, such as the New York Giants traditionally, or if you want to also look at more football, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have Mike Tomlin there like seemingly forever and probably is going to be there forever. So some organizations just aren't big on changing coaches and managers often, and put the Yankees in that boat there. So, even if they themselves, aren't heads over heels over Aaron Boone, they'll still probably just let him ride out his contract as much as possible, and then maybe after next season, will be a question of whether he's back or not, just depending on how things land there. But if you look at, if you want to take a step back, I know, again, a lot of people with the World Series fresh in the head, and they're thinking of Aaron Boone there with, maybe taking Cole out too early in Game 1, maybe leaving Cole in there too long in Game 5, and there's all this other stuff that, talking about the Yankees' fundamentals, their base running skills, and just seeing how they were out-scouted and out-coached by Dave Roberts and the Dodgers there. So, yes, those are reason why you could point to not wanting Aaron Boone back. But if you do take a step back a little bit of the season, he didn't have his ace Garrett Cole until June, and really took a while for Cole to really get going and beat Garrett Cole there. With all that in mind, I mean, he had a 94-win team. That was the most wins for any other team in the American League, so you got to look at him at that. And yeah, the first couple of months, even without Garrett Cole, he had this team rolling. I mean, the starting rotation was doing some historic things there, and just ironically, it seemed when Cole rejoined the team, things started going downhill, which is just kind of ironic there. And of course, the Yankees had that terrible stretch all of June, most of July, and maybe it's a little into August where they just looked completely lost, and it was like only the Chicago White Sox were maybe lost more games than the Yankees did when they had that bad stretch where everyone's feeling, get rid of Boone, get rid of Cash, stuff like that. But Boone did pull together there. A couple of places he made key switches. Number one, going with Austin Wells more than with Trevino, and we saw the whole issue with Trevino and his ability to hold runners on and his ability to throw runners out there. Upgraded him, went with Wells more, and then Wells kind of caught on fire a little bit, even offensively as well. Had a good streak for him going. We were going with the long ball. Unfortunately, he would go a little bit cold come October, but nevertheless made the right call with that, as well as making the right calls, taking out Holmes and going with Luke Weaver in the closing role there and kind of stabilizing that Yankee bullpen, which, and also look at that as well with the Yankee bullpen. Loizaga, you lose him early to Tommy John surgery. Obviously, they traded away King in order to get Juan Soto, and you had a bunch of these question marks. I mean, and Cashman is kind of, not really spending big money there. I mean, yeah, he did sign Luke Weaver at the beginning of the season, and they picked up that option for 2025. But other than that, Cashman just basically got guys off the waiver wires, got a lot of spring training invites, and some of those players, like sort of Dennis Santana, made it to the team and was around for about a couple of months too, and then once they fizzled out, getting a new guy in there. So it wasn't exactly a bullpen of marquee names there, and Boone and Matt Blake kind of just managed along there the innings limits and everything else, and make sure to give enough guys rest, and at least got the Yankees all the way at least through October there. I mean, there was never a point where you said, wow, this Yankee bullpen is absolutely burnt and spent. I mean, that was what you could say that about the Mets early in the season, especially when Diaz was struggling there. So even with the home struggles, blowing some saves and blowing like 12 saves this season, overall, at least Boone kept things together there. Never really got out of control. So you got to kind of give him his kudos on that part, and as well as the team itself. All the players seem to like him. Aaron Judge likes him. Soto likes him. Cole likes him. So, when your main stars kind of like you and want you around a little bit, that's usually a good sign. Now, it's not good. Obviously you don't want the players running the asylum, as I said, the inmates running the asylum there. But, it just seemed like they like the players like him. They play for him. There's no problem there. He's, where you see with Girardi, where give some guys a hard time there, where it just didn't seem like that didn't gel well for a lot of players, especially like Chapman, Teixeira some years ago, as well as Gary Sanchez, and just rubbing some guys the wrong way there. And it's just, maybe you're doing the right thing. You're putting guys in their place when they make a mistake, and you're pulling guys out of the game when they make a bad play, like what he did with Cano in his first year there. But when you rub some guys the wrong way, it's hard to get the machine going, because ultimately the players are the ones who win you the championships. They're the ones who are on the field there that produce the results there. So, and it seems like, Boone has their back and they have Boone's back there. And you see all the times Boone goes out there to argue calls. He gets thrown out of games more than anybody at defending his players. So, does that effort. Now, is that some of it an act to maybe fire the team up a little bit? Yeah, but nevertheless, there are a lot of good things to like about Boone in that regard. And let's go back, overall, since being the Yankee manager, man, they made the playoffs every year except 1 year, and that was last year when obviously you lose your best player in Aaron Judge with the toe injury, going through the gate there in Dodger Stadium there. So, you can't really put that on Aaron Boone. He's got no control over that. Yeah, you can say, well, you should still be able to make the playoffs, but Aaron Judge is an MVP caliber player. He's the backbone of the team. You lose him, it's kind of hard to win games and score runs, especially when the rest of the roster is not doing that great. You have guys like Donaldson, for example. Again, it's kind of difficult. Really to make up for the loss of Aaron Judge. And if you want to look at this current postseason run, especially in the World Series, you want to get on Aaron Boone on things. But his best player, Aaron Judge, really didn't show up. He maybe finally showed a little sign of life later on, but this postseason overall for Aaron Judge and previous postseasons, his numbers have been historically bad for such a great player. You really can't put that on Aaron Boone there. So if you want to say it's just one more year, which would be his 8th season as Yankee manager, again, I don't think he's great. He's tremendous, but I don't think there's enough to say that we need a new manager. If we had someone else in there, we would have won the World Series. I just think, again, it's ultimately the players and the roster Brian Cashman puts on the field there. This bullpen, he kind of went on a budget. Now, it was good, it was effective, but again, that's more on Brian Cashman than Aaron Boone. I can't see any decisions Boone would have made, or if someone else would have put in there, as the Yankee manager's World Series, and it would have made that big of a difference. Again, you always point to the taking Cole out game 1 there, but we don't really, as fans, we really don't really know what's behind that. Was he on a pitch count thing agreement with Brian Cashman? Were they considering maybe bringing Cole back on 3 days rest, and so you can't really have him throw too many pitches. Now, I don't think that was going to be the case, especially if the injury had to start the season. But again, there's sometimes more to it when they pull a player out than we know, behind the scenes there. So it is something to be considered. We've seen him have some problems with Gleyber Torres. He did have the guts to bench him this season when he looked like during that Mets game there. He was kind of, a slow walking to first base. Now, it turned out he said he was supposed to have a groin injury, but nevertheless, again, he did sit him down for a couple of games. It was just a quote unquote to give him a rest, but obviously you could tell it was a disciplinary action there. But we know Boone is not the type of guy to pull players out and yell and scream at guys in the dugout like we've seen kind of with Girardi there. But we don't know what goes behind closed doors, and he might just do it in the manager's office, away from the cameras. Does that make him any more better, any less? We don't know. We did see some improvements by some players, some of the young players. We've seen Gleyber Torres get better, especially in the postseason as the postseason rounds went along. And even Anthony Volpe, another young guy, see him improve. He kind of got off to a really good start to the season. Maybe took a few steps back, but it seems like he did recover. And again, he had himself a pretty good postseason for a second-year player. And again, that's some of the coaching. You have to give credit to Aaron Boone on that. So that's the news on Boone. He'll be back. No big surprise. And again, I don't love him. I don't think he's great, but I don't think there's enough there to say he's terrible, and get someone else in there. We'll definitely would have won the championships against the Dodgers. I just think, again, the Dodgers were just a little bit of a better team. We had a few chances to take it and some opportunities there, but sometimes, the luck and other things sometimes have to bounce your way. And again, the way the Yankees played so sloppily in Game 5 there, you could just see they really did not deserve to win this World Championship, and you really can't put that too much on Aaron Boone. Again, Garrett Cole is a well-established pitcher, one of the best pitchers in the game, and he doesn't cover first base. Again, I can't see you putting that on Aaron Boone. So I think, him coming back for 8th season, I'm all okay with it. We'll see where the chips fall after the 2025 season. Maybe at that time, once the contract is fully done, then you look somewhere else for new leadership, which the Yankees have done with Torrey and Girardi. Just after a while, you just want to get another voice in there. So I can see maybe that'll be the case after the 2025 season. And as for the Yankees themselves, again, we mentioned Luis Gil in the last episode, the American League Rookie of the Year as a pitcher there. So kudos for that. And, the Juan Soto sweepstakes, Mets are getting there. Obviously, going to make their pitch to him. Seems like Cohen's going to go hard, strong after him. But, of course, Hal now announced that he will have a meeting with Soto and his team out there in California. And to see, again, it's all going to be money and stuff like that. If you want Soto and you got a chance to play for the Yankees and Plants. Now, both organizations had a really good 2024. The Mets almost shocked the world as well, almost getting into the World Series. But, unfortunately, they had to deal with the buzzsaw of the Dodgers as well there. But, that's a good selling point for, the Mets as well. Hey, look, we got a team that just made the World Series. We add you, and we're right there. But if you want Soto, you just experience this with the Yankees. Just look at both organizations. I mean, obviously being a New York Yankee is different than being a New York Met there, but it's going to be a tough pitch because the Mets going to say, hey, look, we're just as ready to win a World Series as the Yankees are. But, of course, it's all going to come down to money there. So let's see how much this costs and how many years we're talking about and how crazy this can get. So that's the episode. Boone is back for 2025. So if you like his bubblegum snapping, his fighting with umpires, then you'll be happy with next season. Catch you next episode.